Ladies and gentlemen, dear traders and investors, welcome to a market update. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of August, and we'll start with the daily bias. We go over the most important tradable assets and names, in my opinion, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, and gold. We're going to speak about some very profitable trades, about a perfect FOMC prediction from last week to today. And we're going to speak about this week, how it's going to continue, what are some of the good setups we can get into, and we'll speak about some, good profits that we made, if especially for the guys that follow us, right? So let's start with the daily bias. This is for today, Wednesday, the 5th of August. It'll start with NASDAQ. NASDAQ 100 is cautiously bullish into AMD. Today we have AMD earnings, so we need to be definitely, cautious, as it says here. Futures green, riding Hormuz deal hope. So the market is living a lot off the Hormuz deal hope, as you can see here. Even if you check Walter Bloomberg, Trump signals Hormuz deal could be days away. President Trump said the deal is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could come within the 48 hours, adding US-Iran talks are progressing well. Now, the thing is, Iran is denying these talks again. Iran said there's no talks at all. Most likely Trump just manipulating markets up again. S&P cracked a new all-time high yesterday. So it seems like Trump is keeping the markets on a lifeline. Iran is denying it, so we need to be very careful. It's very fragile because this recent move on NAS and on gold came mainly because of peace hopes, right? Then, so bias holds up if deal stays alive and AMD does not disappoint. So we continue bullish if the peace deal holds, and of course if AMD does not disappoint in earnings. AMD print, don't marry the long into earnings, break of deal talks, risk off flush, stay nimble, right? So if of course the deal talks crush, then it's going to be risk off. That means most likely NASDAQ is going to correct. I'm currently in the NASDAQ sell. So let's see how it goes. I'm also still in a gold buy with stop loss already highly in profit. So let's see how that goes. Then Bitcoin is neutral. Bitcoin looks very bearish to me, price action wise. Bullish, but setup wise very bearish. So very neutral. I'm not touching it right now. Let's see how it develops. No panic, no breakout. Coiled between 63 and 65k. Reclaim 65 is bullish. Take control. And then lose 63 is flush risk until then chop, right? So right now we're in the choppy phase. If we can break below 63, bearish. If we can stay above that and go above 65k, bullish, right? So keep an eye on that for Bitcoin. 65k above, bullish. 63 below, bearish. Okay, gold is neutral to bullish, is coiled, right? We have RSI stretch overbought intraday. That's true. That's why I am in a buy swing trading wise with a very high stop loss, but I'm also in a smaller account. I'm in sells right now. Okay. Still a war premium hedge. Hormuz headline risk keeps a bit under it, right? So with the risk of Hormuz, that's why we're going up. Deal signed, gold cools, fear bleeds out, bearish catalyst, right? So we need to see how that goes. Talks collapse, rocket fast past 4,100, right? Overbought, don't chase long ups here. Buy dips, no tops, right? So the buy was already since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and started to manifest now on Wednesday, right? I was once in Monday, hit a stop loss. I entered again on Tuesday, and now over Tuesday night, it did what it had to do, and that's go up, but now we need to be careful, okay? So everything hinges on two events right now, the Hormuz deal and AMD earnings, right? So that's what we need to be focused on. Fundamentally is Hormuz. How does the Strait of Hormuz continues, especially with the peace deals? And then, of course, AMD earnings tonight is going to give another indicator on where market is going, right? So deal plus strong AMD, NAS up, BTC reclaims 65K, gold cools, right? So that's the game plan. If the deal stays and AMD prints strong, if the talks break, gold rips, NAS pukes, BTC leans lower, right? Markets already priced in, so that's very important to understand. Markets already priced the handshake. Don't overcommit either direction until it actually shows up, right? So don't be too committed, guys, right now, because we are trading a handshake, but there is no proof for that. One sip of coffee and we continue. Let's go into the markets and check that out. But before we do that, we just go here over some positive updates. From market area, the narrative flips. Markets spent months worrying about AI capex and had become unstable. Now they are panicking to get long again. Investors are paying up for upside exposure as earnings surprise to the upside, and that's definitely something we need to say. The earnings since beginning until now, the last 2 weeks, has been overly very positive, especially for AI capex. Means basically that there's a lot of investment in AI. And it seems like capex conviction, you can see it here. JP's Mark Lee Shixley argues the market is becoming increasingly convinced that hyperscalers AI capex is generating returns well in excess of its costs. And that's very important, right? We are generating more in return, considering the high investment of all of these companies like Google, Microsoft, and so on into AI. So that's beautiful. That keeps the market very stable, right? Besides that, let's go into the market. One more last thing we need to speak about, of course, is this Friday is going to be the most important day for this week, and for the next week is going to be NFP on Friday, 7th of August. It's going to be 4:30 p.m. Dubai time, non-farm employment change, NFP, which basically shows us, are we getting more jobs openings or closes, basically change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industry, right? So here we need to be very careful. Of course, if we have more jobs opening or less, that's going to dictate where we're going to go for the next next week, basically. So for now, we're going to trade what the daily bias said, because the daily bias is very accurate from here to finish of the week. And then we need to see, of course, on Friday, be careful on Friday, how NFP plays out, right? And then we'll see how that goes. If NFP falls out positive, perfect, right? Dixie is going to stay low. Markets are going to crush up. That also depends a lot on AMD. So 3 things right now to keep in mind to not confuse you is AMD print tonight for earnings, Strait of Hormuz, peace deal and peace talk. And Friday, non-farm payroll enrollment changes, right? Employment changes, I mean, okay? So let's go into Dixie. As you can see, we are staying below the 100. We rejected the 100 line just yesterday, which is very positive for the market. As long as we stay below the 100, we are more focused on buys, right? So we are more focused on buys here. If we go above 100, we are more focused on sells in the market. That's pretty easy. So keep an eye, of course, on Dixie, especially now with NFP, how that's going to impact that, right? If NFP comes out negative, then we're going to go pretty high again, which is more sell area. If NFP comes out, positive in that sense for us, then it's going to stay down, right? And markets are going to rip higher. Now, if we look at the S&P yesterday broke a new all-time high at 773, right? Which is insane. That mainly comes from peace hope deals. Very stretched move, so we need to see how that goes. Then US oil is staying down, which is very, very positive for the market, right? US oil is the main indicator for inflation. As long as oil stays down and cools down, that's very positive, okay? So keep an eye on oil too, on top of AMD, on top of NFP, on top of peace deals, right? So these are the 4 things we are looking at on a daily basis. Now let's go into the market, speak about gold first. You can see our gold trade entry was over here. Beautiful trade, right? You can see we entered here at 4035. We're currently sitting at 4156. So currently, as of right now, we are 1,200 pips in profit, which is 3%, right? At the top, it was 3.5%. I put my trailing stop loss over here at the 1.3 risk to reward. So either way, I'm winning. So if we get stopped out here in the trailing stop loss, I have a 1 to 3 risk to reward trade. If not, we just continue and finish the sequence. I'm more looking at finishing the sequence, so let's see how it goes. But that was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful setup. Let's speak about it a little bit to, recreate it for you guys to understand. First of all, if you look at the gold, right, I'm going to go here to GC1 futures because we have better volume prints. You can see that we are in a bullish sequence that has been activated now. And before that, it was not activated. We had an internal sequence, the smaller one here, that got activated. And what we did is basically trade the whole correction level from the last low, right? And this gives us the entry area over here, perfectly jumping in with the VWAP. You can see we perfectly are coming in here at price and to the VWAP, right? So we're bouncing off the VWAP, taking it as support here, and we bounce into it twice, right? That's beautiful. And the EMA 200 is coming in as support. So we're clearly trading above the EMA 200, clearly trading above the VWAP from the recent low, right? So that is what I love to see. And that's what I'm mainly focused on, bullish entries. And of course, oil coming down, which is very important. If oil goes up, right, most likely it would have not worked, but oil coming down is very positive for gold so far, right? Because that means the Strait of Hormuz most likely is going into direction of maybe reopening, and that's positive for gold, where many people mistake it. They think, okay, if the war continues, gold goes up. Now, gold is living right now also off the peace deal hope. So if peace comes, gold rips higher. If not, it's the opposite. And it should be the opposite, and that's what confuses many people in gold, right? They would rather look for sells, okay? But no, we are looking for buys, okay? So main reason is that if war stops, gold can flow normally again. Countries don't have to sell their gold reserves. Strait of Hormuz reopens. That also means trade reopens. There's a big gold trade going on in the UAE, in the GCCs with India and so on, and that is currently of course closed, most likely. So it kind of like affects the supply and demand balance for gold, and that's why gold reacts anti-cyclical to what it usually does, right? But now it reacted as exactly as we predicted it, positive. Dixie staying down, oil is coming down, and so on. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trade so far. So gold, yeah, gold also bounced off the value low. You can see from the recent structure, you have the value low line, which is this red dotted line over here. So you can see we bounced perfectly twice into the value low, into the VWAP, and into the EMA. So perfect bull setup. And from there on, we took this trade. We entered around here in the choppy phase, close to the value low, because I saw this candle here. And this was my entry for the 15 min. Is usually I would not enter that low, but we perfectly bounced into the value low over here, and we had a strong bearish absorption candle over here, which is this last candle before we started to go higher. This one over here, you can see a pretty long wick towards the downside, dipping into the value low, respecting it, getting bought up pretty fast, and from there is where the trend starts to shift. Then we go a little bit into a sideways trend, just in a little bit of a chop, and then we really start to see this massive reaction, come back into a re-entry, and from there we really take off in Asia yesterday and crack these new highs, right? So that's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful game here on gold that definitely needs to be studied, right? And then again, I chose to put my stop loss trailing into the 1, 2, 3 risk to reward. So if I lose this trade, I've still made a 1, 2, 3 risk to reward trade. That's still massively in profit. And if it continues, also good, right? So I don't really care anymore. But we need to see how this continues, okay? Now going into BTC, and that's what I was saying before, BTC looks massively bearish, and I'm considering taking a sell, but it's a dangerous run, so I'm still very neutral on that. But you can see we came back into a bearish sequence, right? We are in an active bearish sequence. We came into the bearish sequence, and we are starting to print multiple CVD bear divergences, which basically means even though price is making new highs, you can see, considering from this high to this high, we are making new highs, but actually we are net volume delta, or net, basically the volume is bearish, right? And you can see that if we go into here and we go into BTC, we look at it, right? BTC is currently here on a weekly basis. We have minus 1.74k negative delta, total 17.87k, right? So we are in a negative delta. As you can see right now, we're bouncing off the value low here in the weekly. So even though we have a green candle, we are still negative volume, right? And that's why you see these massive prints here on CVD side, right? And these CVD prints are definitely something we need to consider. As of here last time, for example, you had a CVD bear divergence print before it started to crack down. Same thing over here, same thing over here. So these indicators work, especially if you use volume indicators such as CVD. I love to use that, especially for more confirmation in selling or buy areas. So seeing two CVD bear divergences here on the 30-minute chart in Bitcoin is very bearish. We are coming into the VWAP, as you can see here, into the bearish VWAP, and we're bouncing off that. The only thing is EMA is coming in below as resistance, right, or support in that sense. So here we have support, here we have resistance. So that's why I'm leaning more cautious to neutral, because it's very difficult to say from here. It's not a perfect bearish setup. Also, we are bouncing off the bullish levels, key levels multiple times, which is also more bullish. So we bounced off this 50% correction level, we bounced off this 50% correction level, and we bounced off this 50% correction level. So there seems to be a very strong support over here at 62,340. So I don't want to tackle that, right? Because overall Bitcoin should be more bullish, but technically it is showing very bearish signs. So I'm leaning more neutral because it's not a clear sign. Let's see how this plays out, right? But definitely difficult to say. The good thing is here we are bouncing off the value low, value high also, right? You can see we are perfectly respecting value high. We touch it once, twice, right? 2 times. That's beautiful for a sell. But again, with everything I just said, I'm more cautious to neutral, not doing anything. Now let's speak about NQ, right? NQ is NASDAQ. I was trying to get a buy out of NASDAQ, but it was just ripping higher this week. So I didn't catch one because we didn't get any re-entries. But looking at NQ now, for example, I was looking at this bullish internal sequence. I was trying to get a re-entry somewhere over here. On Sunday, I had it marked up, but then we didn't get into it. We just ripped higher, of course, because of the news. That's exactly what we predicted in the last update with FOMC. But now it seems like we are fading out, same as in gold, right? We are at the value high. close above the POC. Let's see how it continues over here. If we can break the POC, which is the point of control, then we lean very bearish and we will look for bearish entries, even though I'm already in some bearish entries, or like in one entry right now in a sell in a different system, but that's all fine. We have a CVD bear divergence, which is beautiful. So let's see how this one goes, right? But all in all, I'm still leaning massively bullish on NASDAQ, especially if AMD print comes in very well tonight. So let's see how this one goes, but also no setup right now. Here, we are just basically very much overstretched, and we should see a correction, which would be very good. Okay, perfect. Let's speak about, let's check, for example, here on NASDAQ, let's check the time price, or basically the volume footprint, I'm sorry. So for the volume footprint, you can see massive green candle on the weekly, right? We saw some aggressive selling here at the value low, which we came above. Now we see some aggressive buying. So there's still massive buying here at NQ. So I'm just respecting that. So multiple stacked, you can see prints over here. These last three, we have stacked buys, right? So very strong buy behind NASDAQ. That's also why I'm in a call option, yes, in a long for QQQ. Right, my entry in QQQ, let me show you guys my entry in QQQ. So QQQ, I'm currently up 4%. My entry was somewhere over here once we broke the bearish levels, right? So pretty good. As you can see here, call IBKR. So we are in a call option, which is massively in profit right now. Just, you know, basically fundamental trade. There's nothing really technical here. We just broke the bearish levels, and that's when I entered, but that's more fundamentally driven long-term buy for QQQ. So that one is going pretty well. And then let's speak about a little flip that I did. So as you guys know, I have an SMH, which is a semiconductor put option, which is a hedge, right? This one was massively in profit now. Before we had FOMC and so on. Now it's coming into break-even territory. I'm keeping it open just to have a hedge towards the downside, because I started to lean more bullish on SOX, right? So SMH3. I longed SMH3 now, so I entered in the fund and in my personal accounts as a long here. So betting on increase again of semiconductors just because of the big flush out now, and AMD of course is gonna tell us tonight, but it looks very positive when it comes to AI capex and returns, and the earnings have been very good. So I'm leaning more long again. Of course, this is very dangerous. This is a leveraged position, so very small capital in here, but still a exposure here, because if the semiconductors now continue to rip, it looks very positive. Even though I was very aggressively selling it, I made a lot of money on that. That's all fine, but I don't want to catch the headwind now and be on the wrong side, right? I actually want to catch the tailwind now and move it up towards the upside. Okay, so I'm long here. I also entered because of gold being so massively positive and breaking out. I entered a 3x silver position leveraged on silver. As you can see right now, it is 21% in profit. I entered yesterday, and 2 days ago, first entry here, second entry here, right? So yeah, very beautiful. I'm gonna continue to keep that open and see how it goes. These are smaller positions because they are 3 times leveraged. Then one of our signature stock is ripping higher, which is STTK, Shattuck Labs, is currently 60% in profit, guys. That's insane. 60% in profit. We are finally trying to crack here the value high, which we have been bouncing off multiple times. But you can clearly see a more bullish build up here. Why? Because you can beautifully see these wicks to the downside get absorbed, and we are closing price higher and higher, and then we have this beautiful bullish candle which hopefully closes above, and then I think there is a lot of free space to go towards the upside and no resistance really once we break this, right? So STTK, beautiful, again 60% in profit, massive. Then I have a short on US oil. As you can see here, I entered over here. This is the CFD contract, so it looks a little bit different, and I entered a put option on on USO, which is United States Oil Fund, which is currently, as you can see, a pre-market minus 8%, so 8%, 8.5% in profit. Beautiful, pretty easy setup. You have seen that oil came into the 50% correction level and started to bounce off from the 50% correction level, and I missed this entry last time. I was trying to get this entry first here in oil, which is basically this one, but it didn't touch my entry. So it then ripped down, so that would have been an amazing trade. But then we entered here because we actually came into the 50%, and from here we had the same reaction, so we are massively in profit. Again, I took a option, not a CFD trade, but if it would have been a CFD trade right now, it would be 10% in profit, which is 125 points, right? Which is beautiful, okay? But we didn't, we took the put option, which is also massively in profit, so all fine. Now, something controversial, I entered SpaceX yesterday before the earnings, because I was pretty sure we're gonna have positive earnings, and we got the positive earnings, but market is reacting contrarian, right? You can see yesterday earnings came out and we sold off, right? We sold off around 11% pre-market, so let's see how this goes today. But I entered a very small position spot on SpaceX, and I entered a put option, a call option long in SpaceX too, also very small. So nothing big, but I want to have exposure. Why? Because in my rule book for IPOs, once we start to correct more than 50%, and as you can see from the all-time high after the IPO started, right? We corrected so far 53%, and around 50% is my entry in IPOs. So once the IPO started, and as you can see, the IPO started over here, we cracked the all-time high, right? And from there, I take the minus 50%. And once we reach the minus 50%, we start to see like a floor. That's where I usually enter into IPOs and I start to build up my positions, right? Not massive risk, small positions like in SMH3, like in 3X Silver, right? Not massive positions, but I'm starting to accumulate, right? So let's see how this goes. But officially for me, this is a signal to buy. And of course, earnings came out very positive. SpaceX revenue up 92% year over year. Starlink doubled, AI soared, and 100 billion cash post IPO. That's massive. So now we are speaking about numbers. This is all emotional bullshit. Retail's getting cooked, but now we're starting to see some real facts, some real numbers. And again, SpaceX is something I believe in myself fundamentally, just because I also use Starlink, right? Especially when I'm over in Europe visiting family. Internet is absolute shit. Absolute dog shit in Germany. Germany is very famously known for having the worst internet that exists, and that's why I have a Starlink once I visit my mom, and it's perfectly beautifully working, and it's just a good product. So I believe in it, not just numbers wise, profit wise, but I believe in it because it's a very good product and it makes sense, right? And we can see here again SpaceX, right? Starlink doubled. That's insane, guys. Like Starlink doubled. That's insane, right? So for me, this is good numbers, good fundament to start in and hold this for the next couple of years and just accumulate, right? So let's see how this goes. But I've been speaking about SpaceX in the past for you guys not to enter. And if you have listened to me, you saved yourself from 50% drawdown, okay? But now it's time for me to go in, okay? Let's speak about another stock that is ripping, TACK, also like all-time favorite. As you guys know, we have entries very early. We are currently 33% in profit, excuse me. TACK, of course, gold mining, and especially now with a lower Dixie, all of these miner companies are doing pretty well. Same thing is for VZLA. Silver, right, is also coming finally into a good direction. And then we have a long-term open position already, which is Wisdom 3 copper, 3 times leverage. Currently, as you can see, we re-entered over here. We are 25% in profit. Like copper is doing pretty well. You can see here spot copper is beautifully reacting, right? Since our entry, basically up 11.8%, right? So doing very, very well. I'm very happy on that. We spoke about copper multiple times. Copper was the only position that I kept open, even though gold started to correct heavily. Silver started to correct heavily just because copper is such an insane demand, right? So looking very good over here. Besides that, guys, again, going into the intraday, what is the game plan? Gold, again, I'm keeping it open. Then BTC, I'm not touching it so far. I really want to see a break, maybe like something, you know, showing us a little bit of direction, like a break below or above, so we can see where this is going. We are mainly bullish, but we are still stuck here in this bearish sequence, so I'm just cautious not doing anything. And then on NAS, same thing, right? NAS is breaking all the bearish levels, which is exactly what it should do. And I want to see a little bit more structure here to enter, even though my algos, like better explained, my algos, my automated systems are selling NASDAQ right now and are selling gold, right? But they're always a little bit earlier. I need a little bit for the manual trading. I want to see a little bit more price action and a break. Like I want to at least see a break below this last low, right? Something like this. And then maybe sell it towards the downside. But yeah, the algos normally are faster because they track volume and so on. And for them, it's enough to sell, okay? But yeah, I'm not doing anything until I don't see a confirmation for me, right? We need to separate systems if you trade. Perfect. Besides that, everything is overly very green. SanDisk is doing very well. Embus is doing very well. All of our new positions, if it's like, if you can see here, for example, A-Lab, I entered. A-Lab is doing very well. So let's actually switch over here. As you can see, where is A-Lab? A-Lab is doing pretty well, right, since our entry. Then NBIS is doing very well since our entry. SanDisk is doing pretty well since our first entry and second entry, and then TCAHY is also coming out of its correction, which is beautiful. Also stock that I spoke about a lot. Do your own due diligence, put it in ChatGPT or any AI you favor, and check out the fundamentals on this company. Betting on China AI, definitely love the stock. Already made a lot of money in the past with it, so now I'm re-entering. As you can see, I have a position in my fund that I manage, so I'm taking this serious. Unity doing very well, right? Unity is finally coming out here of our drawdown region and printing very well. Also a very high conviction play for me. Also here, if you don't know this company, do your own due diligence. It will pay well. And why is this not showing? And check it out, right? So we're currently 15% profit. Beautiful. Another one that is ripping is Palantir, right? Palantir had earnings, very positive earnings. And as you can see, we have been in drawdown a lot here in this phase. But since the positive earnings came out, which I didn't have on my, I was not looking at it, we are up 20%, right? But long-term Palantir holding for me anyways, but beautiful return. I have around $10,000 spot in here. So with 20% up, we are 2K up, which is 20%. So beautiful, right? So stocks are doing pretty well. We need to be, of course, cautious how this continues, especially with the peace deal and how Dixie behaves. Dixie is still like in the danger zone, right? Close below 100, positive for the market, but very close. I want to see it move away more, and that's most likely what NFP is going to do, is going to move us away more from the 100, which then gives us some more security for the buys and longs in the stock market and in Bitcoin, gold, and NASDAQ, as we spoke about it. Okay. Easy, guys. So that's what we need to look out for. Be very, very cautious, right? Especially, again, we need to look at gold. We need to look at oil. We need to look at Iran and US peace deal. We need to look at NFP on Friday. And we need to look at AMD tonight, because AMD actually is going to have their earnings, right? And that's going to be very important. AMD has held pretty well. I like to see that, to be honest, hold pretty well. Here, just sideways, not dropping as much as of all the other AI stocks, but tonight we have earnings, so we need to check that. Oh, let me see. AMD Q2 revenue jumped 50%. Oh, I didn't know it already came out. It already came out, guys. Beautiful. I didn't know that. That's my mistake. It already came out yesterday. I thought it's going to come out tonight. Okay, here do we have the confirmation. Surprise, 2.71%, 2%. Perfect. That's exactly what we needed to see. So we lean more towards bullish and continue that way. I thought AMD is going to be today. That's my bet, or better said, my AI is bad, because AMD already came out. Well, need to be careful with AI, guys, not just believe everything the AI says. That's why we check, right? But yeah, it came out positive, so that's beautiful. So yeah, that's a even more stronger indicator, as we said before, as we were thinking it comes out tonight. It gives us some more direction, so that's beautiful. And that's also most likely why SOX will rip higher today here, SMH3, just because we have another confirmation for the AI play. So yeah, that resolves a lot and gives us more direction. Okay, so now remaining NFP, oil, and Iran/US, right? And the NASDAQ trade is coming into profits, as I can see here on my MetaTrader. Yeah, we're respecting the fair value gaps. So I really want to see an activation here below this one to trade or sell. So I'm clearly looking at this line, okay? But with that being said, guys, dear traders, dear investors, I hope this market update was something that helps you. Explained deeply what I'm doing, and it's working well. So with that being said, guys, make sure to follow my trading account. Just for you guys to know, actually, in the descriptions, there's a free trading channel, my Telegram trading channel, right? If you go into this one, you will see that I called this gold call here, this gold trade, I called it. And you would have been massively in profit if you would have followed it. Of course, there's no financial advice, right? I'm not a financial advisor. This is my opinion as a professional trader and fund manager with over 10 years of experience in the financial markets, managing multiple seven figures. But you could have gotten this trade if you just click the Telegram link below. All of my trades are in there, full transparent. My bot tracks everything, so I cannot, fake anything. Full transparency on the trades, and you would have profited from that trade as many other people did, as I woke up this morning and got so many messages. So check out the links below, my trading account on Instagram, my main account on Instagram, so you're always up to date on the markets, and join the free Telegram link below, where you receive free trade ideas and my updates and everything I see in the market if you want to stay tuned, because these updates are only weekly. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.